could be cast in a Scream 6 if that ever happens? Let's talk about it.
What's your favorite scary movie? Name it.
We'll tear your soul apart.
Well, I'm Pennywise the dancing now.
We're gonna get you. Oh, Lord on the beast!
God, don't do that.
But sometimes death is better.
Hey everybody, what's up? KillJoy Jake here, and instead of having friends, I have horror movies. Today we're going to be talking about if a Scream 6 ever happens, who could be cast in the film. Now, before I do that, I'm going to need y'all to like this video, subscribe, do all that stuff, and support me on Patreon if you can. The link for that will be in the description below. Now, before I get into this video and I really start talking about some stuff here, I'm gonna spoil Scream 5, like I have to talk about who could come back from the last movie and who won't come back because they died in the last film. Do not watch this video, I mean, if you have not seen Scream 2022 yet, because I will be spoiling it intensively. Also, if you want to see me talk a little bit more about Scream 6 and you haven't seen Scream 5 yet, I posted a video today without any Scream 5 spoilers as well. You can check out that video right up here. Now, getting into the returning cast, who I think, I want to talk about not only who I feel like they could bring in, but also if they're going to bring back the returning cast from the last film or not. So obviously our survivors of Scream 5 were Sam, Tara, Chad, Mindy, Sydney, and Gail. Now, I have talked about for a minute now that, like, I think for sure Neve Campbell and Courtney Cox would be down for another film. But also at the same time, I feel like this movie answered a big question. Could we do a Scream film without the OG cast of characters? Especially because Dewey dies in Scream 5. I think that kind of says something, that we can make a Scream film without these main characters. I love Sydney, I love Gail, and I would love to see them come back for another film, but ultimately I think if they didn't, it wouldn't be that big of a deal, especially because their characters aren't sidelined. Like, all three of the OG characters have a very important role in the plotline of Scream 5. But I think what that film proved is that we don't need them for a Scream film, as long as the new characters are really well written and good characters that we actually really like. Because Sam, Tara, Chad, and Mindy are some of my favorite characters from the entire movie, and they kept them alive, I think, for a purpose. Maybe to bring them back for a Scream 6. Maybe it's because they're just going to be, and they just knew they were going to end up being fan favorite characters, especially Chad and Mindy. A lot of people really like Tara too. Honestly, all four of these people. It's like, it's hard to rank these characters as to how much I liked them. Sam, Tara, Chad, Mindy, I loved all four of them, honestly. Mindy and Chad definitely made me laugh the most, which is why I think I hold them up there personally, and I would love to see them come back for a new film. But also, I feel like it would be tough to continue this story. Like, I think it would be kind of hard to not have Sam in a Scream 6, especially if Radio Silence was doing it, with all the stuff that they set up about her being Billy Loomis's daughter. I think that a whole idea could be explored in a sequel for sure. There might be something evil lurking in Sam because of that, and maybe that's something she has to deal with over the course of these next two movies and throughout an entire new trilogy, which would be cool, which would be an interesting character struggle to experience through 3 movies like this and to see her character grow. Because Sam talked a little bit about her backstory in Scream 5, specifically about how she was like, she found out that she was Billy Loomis's daughter. She felt bad for kind of like breaking up the family after like talking about that right in front of her mom when her dad was listening. She feels like the one who ruined the family, and she went out and did a bunch of drugs. There was a lot of time there where stuff could have happened with Sam. For example, she could have met a bunch of new people that could come into Scream 6 and play a significant role. And I have a few actresses here that I think would be an interesting choice for either like a friend of Sam's from like the past when she went to Woodsboro High School, or maybe someone that she met along the way when she moved away from Woodsboro. So an actress that is no stranger to the Radio Silence crew that I think would be a perfect fit for a new Scream film is Samara Weaving. Now, she's 29 years old. I think she is the perfect age range to play a friend of Sam's. Now, if you remember from the movie, Sam is 25 years old, which only is fitting because she's Billy's daughter, so she would have to be 25 years after 1996. So, And Melissa Barrera is 31 years old. Samara Weaving is 29. I think it would be, it's the same age range, essentially, like late 20s, early 30s. They could both play 25, 26, 27-year-olds whenever this next movie takes place. I think that would be perfect. And Samara Weaving just gives an excellent performance in every movie she's in. Not just Ready or Not, but if you guys have seen Mayhem, the Babysitter movies, she's phenomenal in all those films. She always gives a great standout performance as just being this badass character, and I would love to see her in in a Scream film, playing maybe like a role similar to Kirby, where she's like a nerd, but she's like really cool about it. Like, yeah, she's like super into films and like horror movies, but like she's a badass character, just like Kirby Reed. So I could see Samara Weaving playing a character in that same vein, maybe not exactly the same character, but someone like that. And I think that would be fun. A few more actresses here that I don't exactly have like character archetypes for, but I think would be interesting to see in a new Scream film are actress Jessica Roth from the Happy Death Day films. She's Tree from those movies. She's 34 years old, and I feel like she could also be a great choice as like a friend of Sam's, or like another character that somehow knows about Sam or knows her secret or something. And also Alexandria Daddario, I feel like, is one that many people have said would be great for this film. I don't have too many male choices, surprisingly. I have a few that I want to just kind of go over real quickly. I feel like Jaden Martell from It and It Chapter 2 would be great in this film. Not only does he give a great performances alongside Pennywise, but he also gives a great performance in a Neon film called The Lodge, which if you haven't seen that, that's really disturbing and messed up. Highly recommend it. He's amazing. There's a twist, talk about good twists to the end of movies. There's a twist in The Lodge that I just did not see coming, and it shocked me. I mean, that's one of the best horror movie twists I have seen in a very long time. Highly recommend The Lodge with Jaden Martell. That's a great film right there. I think he would play a really good character to maybe be like a friend of Tara's, because he's about the same age as Jenna Ortega. They're both 19, I believe. And he could play, I feel like he would play a really good like stuck-up rich kid in Woodsboro. Woodsboro is known for being like a higher up community. Like it's typically like people with more money and stuff. So I could see Jaden Martell being like kind of like the stuck up rich kid that's kind of a jerk and maybe gets it in the second act at some point, gets killed in the second act. That would be kind of a cool and different character for this franchise. Maybe not someone who's like super annoying, which a big positive for Scream 5 to me was there wasn't any characters that annoyed the hell out of me. Like Screams 2 through 4, there's always at least one character in all those movies that I can't stand with a burning passion. So I think that was really cool that this film did not have any characters I absolutely hated. So that was a big positive for me. So not a character that's like super annoying and like that you want to see die, but maybe a character who's stuck up but has maybe some kind of like redemption before they die. That would be kind of cool. Kind of like how they wrote the female character in the new Chucky TV series. Kind of like how you hated her at first, but then she had like this little redemption arc. I would like to see maybe a character like that in Scream, who like maybe at first you kind of hate and are annoyed by. You see some stuff about them that like makes you feel about them a little more, and like it gets a little more personal, and then they end up dying because that's just Radio Silence's style right there, to do something like that and to ultimately kill them, which would also be kind of funny in a dark sense. I also have Jack Dylan Grazer here, also from the It films. He gives a great performance in those movies. He's a standout in my opinion. He's 18 years old, so he's a little younger. Would have to be someone who's like in high school or Tara's friend, or maybe going to college. Something along those lines. I think that would be kind of cool. And probably my strongest choice for a male actor in a new Scream film would be Brandon Flynn from 13 Reasons Why. Now, I haven't seen too much of 13 Reasons Why, but to what I've heard about it, him and Dylan Minnette are standout performances from all 4 of the seasons. So once again, I don't know that much about 13 Reasons Why, but like I have heard nothing but very good things about Brandon Flynn. And after just kind of like watching some interviews with the guy, I love his voice. I feel like he would be great for a Scream film, especially just playing like one of a male character, one that's obviously well developed. Something I specifically want to say in this video is that I don't want to just throw actors into this movie because they're big and popping right now. A lot of these people I'm mentioning are people who are like kind of like popping and are a little more like out front. That's typically what Scream movies that they like to cast for their films, is getting people who are like popular right now to be in their movies. But at the same time, they always, like, most 90% of the time, they typically will write a great character surrounded by that for this actor to play. I have two more actresses that I think would be perfect in a Scream film. I have Katherine Newton, who was from where I first saw her was Paranormal Activity 4. She's the main girl from that film, and also in Christopher Landon's Freaky. She's the star of that, and she's just phenomenal in both of those films. Those are the two things I know her from, and she's phenomenal. She's a great actress, and if you want to see her give an awesome duality performance, watch Freaky from 2020. She plays two different characters really well. I could definitely see Katherine Newton playing the nerdy girl who's like super into horror movies. I feel like that would fit her character a lot, just based off of like some other roles she's played in the past. That would be interesting to me. And also Sydney Sweeney from Euphoria. She gives a great performance in that show, and I feel like she's highly underrated. I would love to see her in a Scream film. I think she would just fit in perfectly with a new cast of characters. Now, these are a few like really good choices. I'm not necessarily saying all these people should all be in like one film. It might get a little crazy, especially with like, I'm not saying that's what I want the Scream 6 cast to look like. I'm saying these are just some good choices. Not necessarily any and all of these people could be. I'm not saying all of them should be in the film, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Something I want to mention about if they end up making a Scream 6, if they end up making a whole new trilogy of films from the Radio Silence team, there's something that I think would be cool for them to follow, something that I feel like the new Halloween movies are currently following with the character of Laurie Strode. Now, there's this term in literature called a Christ figure. And no, it does not refer to someone who is like an omnipresent God or anything like that. It specifically refers to characters who have a rise, a fall, and a comeback, or a resurrection, so to say. Halloween resurrection. A Halloween resurrection. No, they don't have that, thank God. But Laurie Strode is kind of being portrayed as a Christ figure so far. She's so far following that that lineup in these new Halloween movies and the David Gordon Green films. She had a rise against Michael Myers and thought she took him down. In this next movie, she's been like hurt a bunch and she can't do anything to stop Michael Myers, and he kind of takes over. So that's kind of Laurie Strode's fall. And then we haven't seen Halloween Ends yet, but I'm assuming if I was to theorize about what could happen in that movie, Laurie Strode is going to ultimately take Michael Myers down in her comeback. Now, I could see the same thing happening with Sam in these new Scream films, where maybe she doesn't die necessarily, but maybe she gets like attacked in the first act. She could be the opening attack this time around, and maybe she is sidelined, just like how Tara was kind of for like the middle of this movie. It would be kind of cool to see that happen, where like Sam can't help out against Ghostface and like Tara has to take it on herself. Maybe Jenna Ortega's character dies at the end of this film and Ghostface gets away. Which I know would be sad to some because a lot of people really liked Tara, but I think that would be a really interesting turn of events, especially to really spice it up here. Whoever the new Ghostface is this time around might not get revealed until a theoretical Scream 7, which would be really cool. I think now that Radio Silence has gotten their foot in the door, they've made a film that so far is very successful at the box office, they can start experimenting a lot more with a theoretical Scream 6. I keep saying theoretical, but that's because, well, it's not confirmed as of right now if Scream 6 is happening or not. But I think it would be really cool for them to go a little further into this whole experimental vibe that they got going on with Scream 5. They've already done some stuff that is very out of the box, very controversial to the fans, yet the film is still making a whole lot of money. And some fans absolutely love the film. Some people swear by it, just like myself, who say it's probably one of the best Scream sequels. Very arguably, because this is obviously a polarizing film to some. But if they do end up making a Scream 6, I say at this point, just keep going for it. Keep taking more and more risks that some people want to see in the Scream franchise. I would like to see them go even crazier with some of the themes that they talked about in this last film. Let's have just do something crazier where it's like Ghostface gets away at the end. Like kind of like how in Halloween Kills, Michael Myers reigns supreme. He killed just about everybody in his path. And who knows what's going to happen in Halloween Ends. I would like to see that with Ghostface. I would like to see a Ghostface killer win at the end of a Scream film. I think that would be really interesting and different. And maybe you don't necessarily get all of the reveal. Maybe there is a killer reveal, like in the same style of a typical Scream film, but there's no one left alive to uncover that. There's no one left alive to tell the police, hey, it's this person or it's these people. Yeah, so I think that's really I think that would be a really interesting thing for them to explore in Scream 6, and to have characters come over from that film into a Scream 7 where they're still like on the loose and they're still Ghostface killers, but then something comes up from the past where it's like an investigation into, oh, wait a minute, this is a loose end from the last film. That doesn't make any sense. It also, Scream 7, let's say Scream 6 and Scream 7 get greenlit, you could also have a movie where it's like two different or not two different things, but where it's like just one long story told across two movies, where like, yeah, things were set up in Scream 5 for that to happen, and then it could be like a whole new trilogy that's one story, but like Scream 6 and Scream 7 could be one long Ghostface investigation, and then you could be left with a cliffhanger at the end of Scream 6. I can't get over this whole cliffhanger thing. I think it would be so cool in a Scream film, and I know Radio Silence was mildly nervous about how this film was going to do at the box office, but they're clearly ballsy. They're clearly like with some of the things they did in this film, I think is very controversial to the Scream community. For example, killing one of the OG3 characters. That's controversial right there. Like, I can't believe they actually did it. I didn't think they were gonna do it, but they did. They did. Like, I was shocked. That was, I know we've been talking about it for so long, but the fact that they actually went and just murdered Dewey is insane. I cannot believe they did that. And clearly they are ballsy. This is not something that I think is out of the park for me to suggest for them to do a cliffhanger ending that would lead into a Scream 7 that people are dying for. I think that would be perfect, especially if they greenlight both of them at the same time. I think that is highly likely that we get a cliffhanger ending. It would be awesome. I think it would be totally awesome to do that because of how much we'd be dying to see what the conclusion to that story. I'm totally for the cliffhanger ending, but what do you guys think? What do you guys think about these people I suggested to be in the cast of a theoretical Scream 6? Are you guys down for a crazy ending and some more experimentation in a new Scream film as well? Leave me a comment about it down below. Thank you guys so much for watching this new update on Scream 6. If it ever happens, got my fingers crossed. Like this video, subscribe to KillJoy Jake. Please and thank you. That would be pretty awesome if you did that, and if you support me on Patreon as well. The link for that will be in the description below, alongside all of my socials that you can follow. Thank you all again for watching, and as always, don't forget to kill it out there, y'all.